Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Conspiracy. Today, I am going to go farther in what I was discussing in the last two episodes. The first episode was pretty good. It actually happened or started, or this series actually started at the perfect time too, because it had. I was starting the season just as Trump released the classified files or the for the supposed JFK assassination, or the JFK assassination, the supposed disclosure of JFK is what I really should have said. So what I did is I went through and I brought up some subjects in there that really was never mentioned or discussed before in the Warren Commission. And I also went back through and I kind of did a breakdown on some of the members of the Warren Commission and what their past were that was involved in it. That led me to the second episode where I started talking about World War II and the post-World War II reconstruction efforts of Europe. Now, with that being done, I mentioned Jay McCloy. And Jay McCloy was very, very pivotal in that, and he also was involved in the reconstruction of Europe, and some of the things that he was involved in was pretty shady, to be honest with you. Now, with that, I also mentioned some other players that were involved, and that brings us into the third area of what I wanted to be discussing when it comes to all this, and this all has to do with high finance. So now we're going to be hearing about old empires that fell. We're going to hear about new regimes that rose up during the late 1800s, early 1900s. And we're also going to be hearing about high finance and the people who were involved in it. Now, Jackal Island and everything is involved in it, but there's also other things that are involved that are going on at the same time. And let me also point out to you, what I mentioned here is just a small part of a bigger scene. There was more things that were being played out. Okay, I'm not specifically saying that this was all of it, is what I'm telling you. There's a lot more that's involved in it, but I only have a certain amount of time to where I can make these streams and put out the information that I think is relevant and important. So just keep that in mind when I'm doing this. Okay, so with that being said, I am going to go ahead and get on with the topic. So we're going to first start with a guy who was named James Warburg. The Warburgs are very important. I mentioned them in the previous episode, and I'm going to go further into it. But first, I'm going to start with James Warburg. Now, James Warburg, prominent banker, advisor, and intellectual of the mid-20th century, was deeply involved in the conversation surrounding world governance and global order in the years following World War II. Born into a powerful banking dynasty with German-American roots, Warburg's career intersected with major moments in U.S. foreign policy, economic planning, and post-war international development. Though often discussed in ideological and conspiratorial contexts, Warburg's own documented positions reveal a consistent and principled belief in the need for stronger international institutions and a reduction in absolute national sovereignty to prevent future wars and manage global resources effectively. So he basically wanted stronger international institutions, and then he wanted to reduce national sovereignties. Just so I can put that out there. Now, Warburg's most well-known contributions to this discourse came in the form of his advocacy for a world federal government, a concept he believed could offer lasting peace and stability. Supposedly, that's what the narrative says. Okay, but I'm pretty sure there's nothing that conclusively connects it. But I'm pretty sure that money had more to do with it than lasting peace and stability. And as you listen, you'll hear more of that as we go through. Now, he notably testified before the United States Senate Foreign Relations Committee in 1950, where he stated, "We shall have world government, whether or not we like it. The only question is whether world government will be achieved by consent or by conquest." The statement has since become emblematic of his views and is frequently cited, often without the full context of his broader argument. And I really don't see how you could have a broader argument after making a statement like that. That's pretty right in your face, stating the facts of what he was saying, you know. So, I mean, he did say by consent or by conquest, you know. Now, Warburg supposedly wasn't calling for a top-down authoritarian regime, according to what these people are saying. They were saying that he was wanting a voluntary, democratically constructed international federation that was designed to manage issues that transcended national borders, such as war, disarmament, trade, environmental challenges, things of that nature. So already they're talking about environmental challenges and stuff before World War II ever started. Now, Warburg's model was of what they called a supranational authority, and that would have been structured to perform many of the same functions that national governments were supposedly supposed to perform domestically. That was what was pushed to the public. Now, the authority would be based on a written constitution agreed upon by its member states, with the key caveat being the states would have to surrender certain aspects of their sovereignty, especially in areas like military conflict and economic policy. And this was supposed to be going to the greater collective authority on a world stage. Now, the concept is supposedly supposed to have mirrored the evolution of the United States, where formerly independent colonies had agreed to a binding federal constitution, and that imposed certain uniform policies. But it was also supposed to be preserving autonomy in local governance. Now, this is what they were pushing. This is what they were saying. And if you look around with some of the stuff that's going on today. You tell me if that kind of agenda isn't really taking place behind closed doors. I mean, it just seems a little bit too familiar, if you ask me. Now, this world government would have been composed of several branches, a legislature, which would include representation based both in population and on national identity. And that was to attempt balancing the influence of large and small states. Now, a global executive authority would be responsible for implementing decisions, and they would be responding to international crises and managing the enforcement of laws passed by the legislature. Perhaps most crucially, a judiciary would oversee compliance and resolve disputes with authority that supersedes national courts. So this international court would actually supersede all of our court systems, no matter what country you were in. Okay, so you would basically have to obey what this national court said above the country that you resided in. So now Warburg believed that such a structure would be critical in eliminating the cause of world wars and preventing arms races that had already devastated humanity in two global conflicts. And again, that is the narrative that has been pushed, okay? But like I said, as I continue to read on, you'll find out. I mean, you'll be able to make your own judgment on if this stuff is true or not, okay? Now, his emphasis on integration among Western nations was not an end goal in itself, but rather a strategy. Warburg saw the democratic and industrialized countries of the West as the most capable of leading the charge towards international unification. That would be the United States, Britain, France, West Germany, and other Western European powers. They would share political traditions and have cooperated militarily and economically through alliances like NATO and institutions like the Marshall Plan. Now, last week we discussed the Marshall Plan, and today that's where I want to kind of go over NATO a little bit. This is an organization that, to me, really kind of sticks out when it comes to what I just read about what Warburg wanted to put together with his plan. Now, Warburg's view alignments